Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Inside High School Sports. Before we get to this week's episode, tough news out of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association. The spring sports season has been canceled. This coming off the heels of Governor Cuomo's decision to cancel school for the rest of the year. So obviously no school, no sports. Difficult news for all involved, from the players to the coaches to the parents to even us here at the Batavia Daily News. We feel, especially for those seniors who won't be able to participate in their senior season, it's really got to be tough for them to swallow, especially for those seniors who are looking to put their best foot forward as they prepare for a college career as well. A lot of good teams were coming back this spring, hoping to either reclaim or repeat as sectional champions, including the Medina baseball team, the Leroy baseball team, the Batavia baseball team, a couple softball teams as well. Some track programs had a plethora of good athletes returning. So it's just difficult news all around, and it's just very tough to swallow, knowing that some of these seniors will never get these moments back. But without further ado, here is the next episode of Inside High School Sports.
The Daily News Online presents Inside High School Sports. Brought to you by Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. With your host, Alex Brasky and Nate Ryder.
First and foremost, we'd like to remind you that this broadcast is brought to you by the Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. Of course, at TVFCU, we know our members love our low loan rates and our low account fees, but our expert staff is really what everyone raves about. If you are not a member, consider joining and learn why our TVFCU members are considered friends, family, and fans. New members are always welcome. Stop in at 10 Jefferson Square, that's behind Wendy's, in Batavia. Nate sat down with Byron-Bergen senior Miriam Tardy, who, although she endured a fantastic high school career, has to be disappointed that her spring season has been cut short.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a girl, she was going to enter her 6th varsity season for track. She had 4 each varsity seasons for soccer and basketball, so, do some quick math. That was going to be her 14th varsity season. Of course, it's like everybody else, it's disappointing, but for her, luckily, she's going on to Geneseo, and she's going to play soccer in the fall, and hopefully track as well. And but it doesn't take away from the fact that you're missing, obviously your final season of high school sports. And it's not easy for anyone, and it's just a whole different adjustment period.
And here's Nate's conversation with the Bees senior.
I ask everybody this starting off, just not even as an athlete, but just as a high school senior, what's his last 2 months been like for you?
It's really different. Most people have never experienced anything like this before. Trying our best to keep looking at the positives.
It's really hard for everybody. What are you trying to do just to keep yourself busy?
I have a lot of homework that I've been working on from teachers. I've been doing lots of arts and crafts. I love painting and things, talking to friends and stuff, keeping connected over social media and things.
Yeah, it's got to be hard doing schoolwork. You got to keep yourself motivated, don't you?
Yes. It's very difficult switching to online and not having the face-to-face connections with our teachers.
Yeah, it's tough. So 4 years of varsity soccer, 4 years of varsity basketball. This would have been 6 years for varsity track. I'm going to do some quick math. That's 14 varsity seasons.
Yes.
Explain just what has that been like for you, basically spending your whole high school career on a varsity team?
It's really awesome. Most of my varsity careers, I've been one of the youngest players on the team. I've always looked up to the girls or guys on the teams. And so now that I'm a senior, I've been able to take the leadership skills I've learned from them and put that to my being.
Yeah, when you kind of look at it, how much were you looking forward to this season and just, finishing out your high school career with, as best you could?
Last year in sectionals, I had PR'd and just broken 13 seconds for the first time, and so I was really looking forward to pushing forward and going to keep doing that this year. And
Well, soccer, you've had just an amazing career. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they're just outstanding. Plus, the team has been outstanding. What was that experience like? And especially playing for Coach Hill, he's such a great coach and a great guy.
he's an amazing person. I was so happy when the school chose him to be the coach. I was in 8th grade trying out for JV for the first time, and so me joining the varsity JV team for the first time and having a new coach, it was great. And the girls, once again, they were very welcoming and kind, and they were such strong soccer players and leaders. So being able to play with girls that were that strong helped me grow to become a stronger player, teaching me.
And what was it like this year? Like you mentioned before, you were finally the elder statesman, should we say. What was it like trying to teach some of these younger kids some of the things you were taught growing up?
It was really fun because just like I was nervous, I was able to take them under my wing, and now me and some of them, they're like some of my best friends now. And
is there anything in soccer you wanted to accomplish that you weren't able to?
Well, we wanted to accomplish making it past second round, and we finally did that, which was great. And just to be able to go to make it to sectional finals, but sadly that wasn't able to happen.
Yeah. Now move over to basketball. It was a disappointing end, but I think you guys surprised a lot of people.
Yes.
You guys played together for so long. What was it like having that great season, even though it came to a difficult end?
So going into the season, we didn't know. Last year was not our best year, and so going into the season, we didn't know where we'd be. We knew we wouldn't be towards the bottom half of the bracket, but we didn't know if we'd be in the top 3 or 4. And coach was like, this is our year, we're going to turn some heads, we're going to surprise everyone, we're going to come in strong. We had some girls like Xiomara Caballero and Chloe Shusky come back to the team, and that really helped out.
Rick Krasinski, I've known him a long time. He coached me in Little League Baseball, and I went to school. What's it like playing with Rick? I remember playing for Rick a long time ago, and it was a great experience. What is that like?
It's really awesome. He's such a great guy, and like a father figure to a lot of us. When we were little, we'd have basketball camps with him, and he'd always drill into our heads, I want you to play for me when you're older. You're going to be amazing varsity players. And so that stuck with us as we got older, thinking, yes, I'm finally going to be on varsity. And it was just great.
Now you made a decision you're going to go to Geneseo and play soccer. Did I hear you're going to try to do track too?
Yes.
Okay, so a few weeks ago we had Bree Smith from Oakfield on, and she's also going to play 2 sports in college. Talk about the mindset of trying to be able to do that.
I know I'm going to really have to have the mentality of getting my work done, going to practices, so I'm going to have to figure out my schedule and everything. That's going to be difficult, but once I get that routine down.
It's obviously going to be a little more difficult than doing it in high school. Have you thought about, kind of how hard that's going to be and playing 2 college sports?
Yes. There are some girls on the varsity soccer team that I already know. They're majoring in the same thing that I want to major in. I want to major in early childhood education, and so I know there's some girls on the team that can help me guide me through that.
Nate, another great moment in high school sports history. Last week, we had the Batavia boys buzzer-beating win in the Far West Regional. This week, we have a sectional title win for the Alexander football team, the first in their program's history. So I'm sure this is an exciting moment to look back on for Trojans fans everywhere. I was at that game. I'm sure you were as well. That was when I was running Batavia's Best. We were competitors, not necessarily colleagues, but what an exciting game that was. I actually looked back on my videos in my old phone. I looked at my prediction for that game. I predicted Clyde to win that game.
Alexander versus Clyde Savannah tonight. On my way there, I picked Clyde Savannah in this game 35-28. Alexander with the stronger defense, but Clyde's offense is a bit too good for them tonight in my mind.
And then obviously Alexander comes up with the huge win. Clyde Savannah really went into that game, I think, as the favorite. They had taken Batavia earlier that season to triple overtime. They had scheduled a tough schedule in preparation for even beyond that sectional final game. But boy, it was really just a team of destiny in Alexander that year, and the Trojans came out with a win. And boy, that was a memorable season.
You know, Alexander had a run a few years before that and lost to, I believe, Avon maybe in the sectional finals. But this was really the start of this massive run for Alexander football. And you're right. I mean, I don't think anybody really gave them a chance at all. And but we've seen, and we saw it last year, of what Coach Sawyer and his staff can do to prepare for a sectional final game. And they came out, they had their game plan, they ran the football, and just use that tough Alexander, toughness, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And, I think they really surprised was a more athletic Clyde Savannah team. And those two met up, I believe, the year after that, and Clyde got the better of Alexander. But that year, you're right. It was a kind of a destiny thing for them. And the great thing about Alexander is every game they have, it seems like the whole town is there with them.
Yes.
And I remember that specifically.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Salem Stadium, or whatever it was called back then, was just packed. The whole side was just packed with Alexander. There couldn't have been anybody left in that town.
Yep, and you'll see in this upcoming interview with a few members of that Alexander football team, you'll see I got highlights from that game, and I scanned the crowd, and you're right. It seemed like thousands of people in the stands, all with cowbells and shakers and everything else. And boy, what a memory that was. What was the feeling like when you finally got the proverbial monkey off your back there and won that sectional title over Clyde Savannah?
Yeah, that was it's a great feeling. We were there in that game in 2013 against Clyde, actually, and lost that game late. We lost 30-24, and that's the first time we've ever been to the sectional finals, so you're not sure you're ever going to get back there or not. So in 2016, when we had a great season, a great team, we got back there to that game, and I think probably Clyde had, I think, 18 seniors or something on that team. They had a bunch. Probably was, they were probably the favorite team that night, and we just played really good defense, got enough done offensively, and won the game. And, there was no doubt. It seemed like we didn't play with fear in our hearts that night. We weren't playing scared. We went out there, played good football. We were the team we knew we could be. And, it paid off. We got our first sectional victory, and it was a great feeling. Happy for the community, happy for the boys, my coaches. My daughter Melissa was out there with us, as our manager, water girl. Every person in town Alexander was there that night. It's pretty special. Brian West was a big part of that team. Turns out that was his final season, with us, his junior year there. And so there was a lot of things that were special in that moment, in that, in that day. And then, even 3 years later, as you soak it all up, you know what I mean? That it remains a very special night.
Now, how close was that team, and what made them a championship team?
The seniors that year, were like Josh Hilkema, Dustin Schmieder, Derek Bush, Dane Heberlein, PJ Brennan, and a number of other guys there. But they were all really close-knit all the way up through a close-knit group of boys there, all the way up through Zach Jason was in that group. And they grew up together. They played 3 sports together. Most of them, was basketball, football, and baseball. Of course, Dane was a wrestler. So I think doing all these life experiences and growing up together is a very close-knit group of boys. The community, has a big investment in it as well. I mean, their parents were very supportive of them. The supporting cast, the juniors and sophomores, I mean, we don't want to forget them either. We had Job Smith, Mitch Gordon, Eric Charlau, Chris McClintock. and a number of people that really contributed to that thing. So it was a good formula. They're very coachable, very hardworking. They were strong. So it all came together, it was building, like you said, it was kind of building. It took a while to build it, but they definitely, reaped the benefits of it and have kind of set the blueprint, really solidified what it is to be, involved in Alexander football.
How much do you think that championship team, like you just said, set the stage for what's really been an incredible run for your program?
I think what it really did is it validated what we've done as a staff. I've still got the same coaching staff to this day. We got great JV staff there, and Ken Profrock and Matt Swanson. Excellent volunteers, Bobby Folkowski and Riley Kazmersky, who were two former players of mine. And then, at the varsity level, we got Coach McCracken, of course, and Coach Smykowski and myself. So we've had the consistency building up to that. And, we challenge the kids. We were running 40-40s every day. And that's not a lot of fun. You play football, go to practice, and, it almost feels more like a track practice there for half an hour or so. But those kids believed in it. They policed themselves a lot. Our captains, Dane Heberlein, hold those kids accountable. As far as all out on every sprint. They were weight room strong. It was a strong, physically strong group of kids. So then the next generation, the sophomores and juniors involved in that, they see that. They train the same way. They get back to their own sectional game. It's easier to sell the program when you have success like that. You're asking for a big commitment, but also the reward and the return is great. And so they see it, the parents see it. So the parents are driving their kids, to school for summer workouts, 7-on-7s in the month of March, whatever it is. It's a price worth paying, and these kids see it, the folks see it, and, we get rolling.
Now, you mentioned Brian West, the young man who tragically passed away after that title win. I'm not sure of the timeline there. You'll have to fill us in on that. But when a tragedy like that occurs, what are the feelings when you look back on a moment like this? What does it bring up? Does it bring up positive ones that you were able to experience such a great moment with what, by all accounts, was a great young man? Or does the sadness come flowing through? What does thinking about that team and Brian, what emotions does that bring back flooding in?
It's positive emotions, and you don't know it at the time, that's how it's gonna play out. So Brian, the following week we lost to Maple Grove. Brian finished that school year. He ended up passing away in July, the summer before his senior year. But you look back on it and, as sad as it is, and it's very tragic, I choose to be thankful for knowing him, working with him, coaching him, watching him grow up, and the successes that we had on the field. Even his junior year there, the 2016 team that we're talking about today, he started the very first day of two-a-days, not two-a-days of hitting. When we had our first scrimmage, he had a severe ankle sprain, and he played through it, played one way a lot of the season because of it. But he overcame that. The week we played Attica, Brian's grandfather passed away that week. We weren't even sure, when the funeral was going to be. I think it was on a Thursday. We played Attica the next night. Weren't sure if we were going to have Brian or not. And he was there, started for us as an offensive lineman, and played a lot of D-line for us. But you look back on it, so to get kind of back to your question, it makes it, thank God he had that life experience, that he got to share it with the team, that the team got to share it with him. Just today, they pulled the plug on the spring sports seasons here in New York. And, my kids are sad about that. I'm sure, high school athletes, especially the seniors across the state, are just devastated right now. And, I'd go outside for a couple hours and just kind of wrap my head around it all today. And I guess what you can take from what we're going through right now, or the 2016 moment there, reflecting on those young men's experience and Brian's life, you and I, nobody should be taking anything for granted. Let's find the good in every day and the goodness in the people around us, and the value of the relationships we form, whether it's, as a brother or sister, father, son, teacher, student, athlete. We got to make it count, because you just never know. You assume you're young and healthy, got your whole life ahead of you. You assume you've got softball season or baseball season year after year. We're assuming we're going to have a football season this fall. I think, we got to live in the moment and appreciate, the process, appreciate the struggle, appreciate the victories. I'm glad that was in all of our players' life experiences, no doubt, 2016. But for Brian, I know it was really special. I grew up in Attica, and my neighbor growing up was Brian West Sr., so the boy's dad, and we pailed around quite a bit for a long time growing up as kids. So I just remember at the end of that Clyde game, in the celebration, I hugged Brian. Everybody's jumping around, and he was the first one there in front of me, and I hugged him, and I said, your grandfather saw this today. And who knew that would be such a I hugged every player that night, but I remember it, and his teammates remember it. And so it's he left his mark, on the team and on the people in his life. And it's a tough deal. It's tragic, but we're all better for his 17 years here. You know what I mean? I look at it that way.
All right, now to wrap it up, you were just talking about memories and beyond what you remember of Brian and just winning the championship. When you and the members of that team and your coaches look back on that moment, is there one thing that you remember most, maybe what really got you there, or one play, anything that you remember the most from either that moment or that season?
There's probably 4 or 5 things that are really memorable about the year. That was still when we were in a big rivalry with Attica, and we played Attica in Attica that night, and they were a pretty good football team that year as well. And sometimes with teams, I'm a little bit of a rah-rah guy, fire them up and go play, but I also think we're more maybe workmanlike, like you're prepared, you've put the time in, you've known the game plan for a week. We expect to go out and perform and play. So I remember the Attica game that year. We were in the north end zone, in the pregame, and it's a big game. And, it's a massive rivalry game, and hopefully that can come back to us this year. But I just remember, there's no David and Goliath story that night, but it was, we're going to do it together, stick together, love the guy next to you. And I just remember these kids just looking back at me with, belief in their eyes. And we ended up playing great football that night. We had 2 kickers that were both really good PAT kickers that season, Grant Cox and Hannah Palucci. She's the first female football player I've coached. And it was early season too. And like I said, that week, the team had gone to the funeral there for Brian West's grandfather. We trained all week like we weren't going to have Brian, but as it turned out, we had Brian. So it was an emotional week and a big game. And it just talked about, picking the guy up next to you, do it for yourself, do it for your teammates, do your 111th, do your job. Let's do it with class, play clean, play through the whistle, play clean, play hard, get up and do it again, keep your mouth shut, limit penalties. And we controlled that game. And with the two kickers, they both trained so hard and were kicking great. I had told them we're going to alternate PATs. Grant first, and then the second PAT on the season was going to be Hannah, and then Grant, and then Hannah. And so we got up 6-0, and Grant ran out there and kicked his PAT and made it 7-0. And our defense was phenomenal, but Attica ends up scoring on a hook and ladder play late, I think, in the second quarter. And I can't remember. They went for 2, I think. We stopped them. So we had a 7-6 lead. But it was a little bit of a dogfight, and we scored in the second half, 13-6, and getting ready to run, our PAT team out there, and somebody says, hey, because Grant's kick was perfect, his first PAT was, you're going with Grant here, right? And I'm like, no, let's stick to our plan, Hannah, get out there and go kick that thing. And, we run her out there, and right along with what, do your job, you're ready for this moment. And she went out there and kicked a nice clean PAT, and we went up 14-6. And so you talk about it, but you also got to live it and you got to believe it.
At Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union, we have members of all types. From Blue Devils to Knights to Dragons and Leprechauns, we have solutions for all their financial needs. We not only provide checking and savings accounts, but also loans for vehicles and student loans. Our members also enjoy exclusive benefits through our scorecard rewards programs. To become a member, you can stop by our office in downtown Batavia or give us a call. Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. Local, personal, and owned by members.
I think we're enjoying looking back on these memories, and it's something worth doing, because once these kids kind of move on from high school, a new crop comes in, and sometimes you forget the memories, especially in the short term. But boy, these memories are definitely worth looking back on.
Yeah, obviously this one wasn't as dramatic as the Batavia win, but it's important nonetheless, because that really set the tone for that culture and that football program that, here they are, and that's where they're going to stay no matter what. And, like we said, they built up to it for a number of years, and, I just remember that team. They had some good players, but they were also fairly young, and those kids all came back for another couple of years, and, it's just been a great run for them, and, they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So, another jam-packed episode of Inside High School Sports comes to a close, but we'd like to thank you for joining us, and we'd like to remind you that this broadcast was brought to you by the Tonawanda Valley Federal Credit Union. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
All right, last question. You're a sectional champion. How does it feel?
I'm lost for words. I love my team. I love my coaches. I love this town. Go Alexander.
Nice job.